I'm into choosing Earth, Duane Elgin, and I'm in the second half of the preface written by Francis Weller. So this is a follow-on from the beginning of the preface, which is entitled At the Threshold, Grief, Initiation, and Transformation. I'm continuing with the section entitled An Apprenticeship with Sorrow. Weller states, our collective initiation will inevitably bring us face to face with extreme layers of loss and grief. Elgin makes this very clear. The ongoing winnowing of species will deplete the Earth's biodiversity by a staggering amount over the coming decades. Human deaths will multiply as food and water sources disappear and regional violence increases over diminished access to resources. Economic disparities will level an untold degree of suffering on billions of individuals. Grief will be the keynote for the foreseeable future. Our ability to stay present to this tidal wave of loss depends on our capacity to cultivate this essential skill. We must take up an apprenticeship with sorrow. Our apprenticeship begins when we come to understand that grief is ever present in our lives. Grief is ever present in our lives. This is a difficult realization, but one that has the opportunity of opening our heart to a deeper love for our singular life and for the windswept world of which we're a part. We begin with a simple gesture of picking up the shards of grief that lie littered on the floor of our house. We begin by building our capacity to hold sorrow in the tender hut of the heart. Through this practice, we learn to welcome the pervasive and encompassing presence of grief. And then we invite one, two, a few trusted others to gather and share the ongoing waves of sorrow as they come ashore. Our ability to love and comfort is expanded by others' grief. Our own too big to be contained pain finds its freedom in others' witnessing of it. Grief is more than an emotion. It's also a core faculty of being human. It's a skill that must be developed, or we will find ourselves migrating to the margins of our lives in hopes of avoiding inevitable entanglements with loss. Through the rites of grief, we are ripened as human beings. Grief invites gravity and depth into the psyche. Fortunately, we possess the capacity to metabolize sorrow into something medicinal for our soul and the soul of the world. One of the essential practices in our apprenticeship to sorrow is our ability to hold one another in times of grief and trauma. This skill has, for the most part, been lost under the extreme weight of individualism and privatization, especially in Western industrial cultures. This has had a profound impact on how we process and metabolize our personal encounters with loss and intense emotional experiences. Without the familiar and reliable container of community, these times can penetrate our psychic lives, leaving us shattered and shaken, frightened and unsure of our next step. Trauma is any encounter, acute or prolonged, that overwhelms the capacity of the psyche to process the experience. In these times, what confronts us is too intense to hold, integrate, or comprehend. The emotional charge saturates our capacity to make sense of the experience, and we feel overwhelmed and alone. Absence of an adequate holding environment capable of supporting us in these times generates traumatic experiences. In other words, pain itself is not traumatic. Unwitnessed pain is. Pain itself is not traumatic. Unwitnessed pain is. This time of rapid and heartbreaking planetary change reminds us that we are in this together, and we can offer one another the holding space needed to process our shared sorrows. But what of traumas impinging on us from the wider world? Here, Elgin proposes a new way of framing the global field. He introduces chronic traumatic planetary stress. CTPS, chronic traumatic planetary stress, and writes, the difference between PTSD and CTPS is that instead of a relatively brief and confined episode, the trauma is lifelong and planetary in scope. There's no escape. The burden of collective trauma permeates the psyche and soul of humanity. There's no escape. Whether we acknowledge the wider traumas or not, our psyches register the disruption. How could we not? Our lives, our bodies, our souls are entirely entwined with the beauty and sorrows of the world. As Elgin points out, without containment, the chronic traumas of the planet will leave many of us deeply wounded, both psychologically and socially. The capacity to create spaces potent enough to hold the intense energies of our raw grief is a key element of our apprenticeship with sorrow. Again, the capacity to create spaces potent enough to hold the intense energies of our raw grief is a key element in our apprenticeship with sorrow. Every trauma carries grief within it. Loss is woven within trauma's textures, and the scenarios laid out by Elgin for the next decades and beyond are filled with trauma and sorrow. How are we to respond when life confronts us with overwhelming circumstances? How can we hold all that we feel when the source is far beyond our ability to control it? How do we recalibrate our inner lives to heal our psyches in times of trauma? Here are a few offerings for tending our souls during traumatic times. And who isn't living in traumatic times? So we now go briefly into 4 suggestions. The first of which, practice self-compassion. Self-compassion helps us hold our vulnerability with kindness and tenderness, allowing us to remain soft and open. Times of great uncertainty call for a level of generosity to ourselves that helps offset the effects of trauma that can often envelop our emotional body. This must be our first and primary intention, to hold all that we experience with compassion, to offer a safe place for our fears and grief to land. 2, turn toward the feelings. No bypass or strategy of avoidance can help resolve the difficult emotions we will encounter. Turning toward our suffering is essential. Not only must we endure times of pain and sorrow, hoping to get beyond them, we must also actively engage them and feel them fully. This move takes great courage. However, without adequate compassion and support, it's hard to open ourselves up to the painful emotions that await us. So we've had practice self-compassion and turn towards the feelings. And now 3, be astonished by beauty. Trauma has a profound impact on our feelings of aliveness, often generating a state of numbness or anesthesia. This anesthetized state protects us for a time from having to encounter the raw, searing emotions that often accompany trauma. But it also dulls our sensual engagement with all that surrounds us. Beauty's allure helps to fully open the aperture of the heart. Sorrow and beauty are side by side. The soul has a fundamental need for encounters with beauty, a central source of nourishment that continually renews our sense of vitality and awe. And the 4th one, which is patience. Healing from trauma takes time. Patience helps heal vulnerable pieces of soul splintered by trauma. Knitting a bone takes time. Mending the soul takes even longer. Be patient with your process. The soul's deep wisdom knows the value of going slowly. Stepping out of the manic pace of modern culture is essential for regaining our footing in the world of soul. Patience is a discipline, practice that reassures wounded, vulnerable souls and helps us reap the benefits of our efforts. Okay, that was the section, An Apprenticeship with Sorrow. And now continuing with the next section, A Gradual Awakening and Emerging World. Well states, Our long apprenticeship with sorrow results in a spaciousness capable of holding it all, the loss and the beauty, the despair and the longing, the fear and the love. We become immense. Our steady devotion to working with the heavy cargo of grief slowly softens the heart, and we feel our connection with the wider sentient world expanding. Our time in the depths helps us to develop a felt intimacy with the earth and the cosmos. We come home. We sense a diminishing distance between us and others. Our identities become permeable, and we feel a growing kinship with the human and more than human community. A new reverence for life emerges as we sense the living presence of the earth as an organism embedded in a living cosmos. This is our dawning experience of a possible future for the earth. A mature humanity is emerging, but it is tender, vulnerable, and fragile. We're entering our early adulthood, not yet developed sufficiently to withstand much pressure. Thresholds are tenuous, unsteady, and unpredictable. As we enter what Elgin calls the Great Transition, we're required to return to humility again and again. What humanity has endured over the long dark must now be harvested with patience. Our work is to protect this emerging sensitivity and pass it along to the generations that follow. Each successive generation can fortify this evolving awareness, adding its own understandings, practices, rituals, songs, stories, and more, until it becomes a robust presence in accord with the evolving cosmos. As we mature as a species, we enter a more reciprocal relationship with the earth. We are called to strengthen the values and practices that help sustain the body of this exquisite world. Values such as respect, restraint, gratitude, and courage help to fortify our ability to stand and protect what we love. Reverence and humility remind us that our lives commingle with all life. What affects one strand on the web affects all. We are here to participate in the ongoing creation, to offer our imagination, affection, and devotion to sustaining the world. Elgin makes the need clear. We must cultivate a robust collective of adults whose primary fealty is to the life-giving world on which we depend. We must be able to feel our loyalties to watersheds, migratory pathways, marginalized communities, and the soul of the world. We must feel the bedrock of our aliveness and the reality of our wild and exuberant lives. Initiation tempers the soul, drawing out its hidden essence, and calls forth the medicine we came to offer this stunning world. We are needed. Initiation ripens us and readies us for greater participation in the care of the cosmos. This is at the heart of why we're here as a species. Our cosmological purpose is to keep the dream of the world alive. There is beauty, dignity, and grandeur in that calling. It's becoming increasingly clear that this realization must become deeply embedded in the hearts and souls of people in the coming decades. In essence, we are being asked to consecrate our lives, to practice reverence in our actions. This is the first truth that must settle into the bones of anyone who undergoes this planetary initiation. Again, in essence, we are being asked to consecrate our lives, to practice reverence in our actions. This is the first truth that must settle into the bones of anyone who undergoes this planetary initiation. In addition, initiation implies soul medicine. We are asked to give away the particular gifts we came here to offer. Initiation also loosens the tight collar of civilization and leads us to reclaim the wildness within. The grip on our domesticated psyche relaxes, and we are able to enter a multi-centric world where everything possesses soul and is a form of speaking. Again, the grip on our domesticated psyche relaxes, and we are able to enter a multi-centric world where everything possesses soul and is a form of speaking. And one last truth that comes with initiation. We are asked to build a house of belonging that can extend places of welcome to those who feel unseen and disconnected. For those of us privileged with the gift of advanced years, it's incumbent upon us to turn and face those who follow, the generations of younger ones whose future is seriously jeopardized by our neglect of the world. I, Francis Weller, I see the understandably bewildered, angered, grief-stricken faces of millions. I don't know what to say, only that I see you. I acknowledge your sorrow and your despair, your outrage and confusion. Your trust in any possible future is being eroded day by day. What you inherently expected, a future brimming with possibility, is fading and evaporating even as you reach for it. I feel the immense sorrow of your hearts. I see it whenever we share a moment. It's etched on your face, in your words. I'm sorry. Please know that many of us are doing everything we can to find a way through this narrow passage to offer a world worthy of your lives. Again, I see the understandably bewildered, angered, grief-stricken faces of millions. I don't know what to say, only that I see you. I acknowledge your sorrow and your despair, your outrage and confusion. Your trust in any possible future is being eroded day by day. What you inherently expected, a future brimming with possibility, is fading and evaporating even as you reach for it. I feel the immense sorrow in your hearts. I feel the immense sorrow in your hearts. I see it whenever we share a moment. I do. I see it whenever we share a moment. It's etched on your face, in your words. I'm sorry. Please know that many of us are doing everything we can to find a way through this narrow passage to offer a world worthy of your lives. I also see your passion and your commitment to fight for a life that has meaning and beauty, belonging and joy. I see your longing to fashion a living culture congruent with the ways and rhythms of the earth. I see your creativity and wild imaginings, seeing things in ways my generation never dreamed of. You are powerful in the midst of your grief. You've been asked to carry so much so soon, and the initiatory impulse may have been activated before you were ready. Maybe not. You may be the ones capable of finding a pathway through this collective dark night of the soul. In the last 2 pages, with the final section, A New Human, A New Earth. It's a privilege to be alive at this moment in our collective story. We are the ones straddling this threshold time. We are the ones who can choose to participate in the repair of the earth and in the creation of a living planetary culture. We are the ones alive at a moment of immense possibility when we can restore a sacred covenant with the animate world. We are the ones who can respond to these circumstances and participate in imagining the shape of a new earth. The earth, however, is profoundly wounded and will require patient restoration. Attending to the sacred duty of repair is a deep imprint of our initiation. Every human being alive will experience the rough initiation of these times. No one will be exempt from the effects of the deteriorating climate or the stresses and strains that will befall our economic, political, and social lives. Initiation is not optional. The lingering question is, will we choose to participate in the process of initiation? Will we be able to see beyond self-interest and be capable of thinking like a planetary community? Will we be reshaped in profound ways? Wait, no, actually, it says we will be reshaped in profound ways, one way or another. The key question was, will we be able to see beyond self-interest and be capable of thinking like a planetary community? If we choose to accept the challenges of this threshold time, we may emerge ripened and ready to participate in what geologian Thomas Berry has called the dream of the Earth. The hallmarks of this new self will reveal someone more attuned to responsibilities than rights, more aware of multiple entanglements than entitlements. We will be initiated into a vast sea of intimacies with the village, star clusters, and gnarled old oaks, wide-eyed children, the pool of ancestors, and the scented earth. The importance of this choice cannot be overstated. By participating in the difficult work of radical change, we are quickened, in some deep way, to carry essential medicines for our beleaguered world. This implies that we learn how to live within the means of the earth to support us. Choosing earth means choosing simplicity, community, reconciliation, participation. These are gestures we can all make now. We can remember our primary satisfactions, the core constituents of a healthy soul life. These elements evolved over several 100,000 years and shaped our psychic lives in ways that led to a sense of contentment and satisfaction. When these requirements are met, we do not crave the newest device or the latest model car or the next form of anesthesia. Essentially, we're freed from toxic consumerism and materialism. We live simply and we simply live. In order to feel satisfied, we need touch that affirms and soothes, to be held in times of grief and pain. We also need abundant play and sharing food with others, eaten slowly over heartfelt conversations. We need dark, starlit nights when words are not required. And of course, we need the pleasures of friendship and unself-conscious laughter. We require a vital ritual life that connects us with the unseen world in crucial times, such as crossing the threshold of initiation, tending to the vulnerabilities of illness, or celebrating our communal gratitude for the blessings of this life. We need an ongoing, intimate, and sensual connection to the wild pulse of nature. Our hearts and ears need to delight in storytelling, dancing, and music. We crave the attention of engaged elders, and we thrive in a community rooted in a system of inclusion based on equality. These are what we truly desire. Let us be willing to descend together into the vast darkness of this time and see what resides there in the mystery, waiting for our devoted attention. So much is in bud, the poet says. So much yearning for expression. A larger journey lies ahead, one where we may find ourselves growing into something unimagined, birthing a new being, a biocosmic presence. This is the time in which we can dream of what may be. Many of us will not see the other shore of the long dark, but some may. As Duane Elgin writes, now I see myself planting seeds of possibility, but without expectation that I will live to see them blossom in a new summertime or partake of their fruits in the harvest of a distant autumn. My approach now is to trust the wisdom of the earth and the human family in bringing forth another season of life. That is an elder's blessing. We live for what may be, knowing we may never see the fruits. The only way out is through, and the only way through is together. This is a collective initiation. This is the gestation period for a possible planetary community. We are the midwives, the elders, the guides to our future life. It's a good time to be alive. That being the second half of the preface to Duane Elgin's Choosing Earth, written by Francis Weller, and it was entitled At the Threshold, Grief, Initiation, and Transformation.